Tonight's story is about Maris Vale, a powerful female CEO trapped inside her own penthouse when her security system fails. Everyone believes she is safe, but only Declan Rowe, a quiet single dad working in the building, hears her cry for help. What begins as a rescue turns into a story of trust, hidden pain, and a slow romance neither of them expected. Before we continue, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? Declan Rowe was not supposed to be on the 47th floor that night. He was only there because the building manager had forgotten to sign off on a pressure valve inspection, and Declan was the one technician who never left a job half finished. His shirt was still marked with dust from the parking level. His toolbox hung heavy in one hand. In the other, he carried a half-eaten sandwich wrapped in foil. He had 12 minutes before his daughter, Poppy, expected her bedtime call. Then he heard the voice. Not loud, not dramatic, just one broken sentence slipping through the service vent. Is anyone there? Declan stopped. The corridor outside the penthouse was silent, polished, and cold. Everything on that floor looked expensive enough to punish anyone who touched it wrong. Marble walls, hidden cameras, private elevator, soft lights that made the place feel less like a home and more like a museum where no one was allowed to breathe too loudly. He stepped closer to the vent. "Ma'am," he called. "Where are you?" A pause. Then the voice came again. "Penthouse A." The door won't open. Declan's hand tightened around the toolbox. Penthouse A belonged to Maris Vale. Everyone in the building knew her name. She was the founder of Vale Meridian, a woman who appeared in business magazines with calm eyes and sharp suits. Declan had seen her twice in the lobby. She walked like someone trained herself never to look afraid. But now, through a thin metal vent, she sounded human. "I called security," Maris said. "They keep telling me the system says I'm safe." Declan looked toward the wall panel near the service closet. The lights flickered once. Then came the smell. Burnt plastic. His expression changed immediately. "Ms. Vale," he said, lowering his voice, "do you see any flashing lights near your control panel?" "Yes," she answered. "Red, then blue, then it goes black." "That's not just a lock issue." "What does that mean?" "It means your emergency circuit may be overheating." Silence. In that silence, Declan could hear her breathing change. For the first time, Maris Vale had no assistant, no boardroom, no driver, no title strong enough to open the door. She was alone inside a glass penthouse high above Manhattan, trapped by the same smart system her company had proudly installed in the building last year. Declan opened the service closet and scanned the wiring. His jaw tightened. The setup was sleek, expensive, and badly designed. Too many functions ran through one relay. Locking, ventilation, emergency lights. If that relay failed, the entire penthouse could turn against the person inside it. His phone buzzed. "Poppy." For one painful second, Declan stared at his daughter's name on the screen. Then he answered. "Hey, Bug," he said softly. "You forgot the moon story," Poppy whispered. "I know. I am sorry. I need a few minutes. You always say that when something's broken." A tired smile touched his face. "This one matters. Is somebody scared?" Declan looked up at the vent. "Yes," he said, "but I'm going to help her." When he ended the call, Maris spoke again, quieter now. "You have a daughter? 8 years old. You should go to her." Declan pulled a screwdriver from his belt. "I will, after I get you out." "Why?" He paused, listening to the faint crackle behind the wall. "Because my wife died in a hospital room where people kept saying everything was under control," he said. And by the time someone finally listened, it was too late. Maris didn't answer. Her face, unseen behind the wall, softened. For once, she had no polished response ready. Declan removed the panel cover. A thin spark jumped from the relay. He jerked his hand back. Inside the penthouse, Maris flinched at the sound. "Declan, I'm here. Don't lie to me. Is it bad?" He looked at the scorched wire, then at the locked emergency override. "It can be fixed," he said, "but you have to trust my voice." Maris pressed her palm against the cold penthouse door. For years, she had trusted contracts, cameras, numbers, and control rooms. Now she had to trust a stranger in a faded uniform. And somehow, that frightened her more than the smoke. Declan knew the worst thing he could do was rush. That was what cheap action heroes did in movies. Real systems punished panic. One wrong wire, one forced override, one proud mistake, and Maris Vale would be breathing smoke behind a door no one could open. He crouched in front of the service panel, the screwdriver balanced between two fingers, his eyes moving over the relay board. "Maris," he said. For a second, she didn't answer. Then, through the vent, "You call me Maris. I can go back to Ms. Vale if that helps." A faint breath came from her side of the wall. It almost sounded like a laugh, but fear kept it small. "No," she said. "Maris is fine." Declan nodded, though she couldn't see him. "I need you to walk to the kitchen," he said. "Slowly. Don't go near the west wall. I'm in the hallway." "Good. Keep one hand on the wall opposite the panel. Tell me if the floor feels warm." Maris moved carefully. Her bare feet made no sound on the stone floor, but Declan could hear her breathing, uneven and controlled. She was trying hard not to fall apart. He respected that more than he expected. "The floor is normal," she said. "Open a drawer. Find a towel. Get it wet. Is there smoke inside?" "Not yet, but there might be soon." There was a short silence. Then water ran. Down the corridor, the private elevator chimed. Declan looked over his shoulder as Nolan Breck, the night security supervisor, stepped out with two guards behind him. Nolan was tall, polished, and already annoyed. "What are you doing on this floor?" Nolan asked. Declan kept his eyes on the panel. "Saving your resident." Nolan's face tightened. "We have protocol." "Your protocol told a trapped woman she was safe." One of the guards shifted uncomfortably. Nolan stepped closer. "Move away from that panel." Declan finally looked at him. "If I move away, the relay keeps heating. If you remote override it, the lock motor may seize completely. And if that happens, you'll need a fire crew to cut through a reinforced door while she's breathing whatever burns behind that wall." Nolan swallowed, but pride made him stubborn. "This is above your clearance." From inside the penthouse, Maris spoke, louder now. "Nolan, let him work." Everyone went still. Her voice came through the intercom this time, distorted but clear. Nolan straightened. "Ms. Vale, we have the situation controlled." "No," she said. "You have the situation documented." "That's different." Declan looked down to hide the small smile that pulled at his mouth. Even scared, Maris had a blade in her voice. But a second later, the power flickered harder. The corridor lights dimmed. Inside the penthouse, Maris gasped. "Declan, I'm here." "I smelled it now." His smile vanished. "Wet towel over your mouth. Stay low." Nolan's face changed at last. "How bad?" Declan pointed to the scorched relay. "Bad enough that you should call FDNY and stop touching anything remotely." Nolan reached for his radio. Declan turned back to the wiring and found something that made his chest tighten. A bypass had been installed. Not original. Not approved. Someone had added a shortcut to make the smart lock respond faster during VIP events. It saved seconds. It also removed a safety delay that could have stopped the overheating. His eyes narrowed. Who modified this system? Nolan didn't answer. Maris heard the question. "What do you mean modified?" Declan hesitated. This was not the time to accuse anyone, but it was the time to tell the truth. "Someone changed the lock circuit," he said. "That's why security sees you as safe even though the door is dead." Maris went quiet. On her side of the penthouse, she sat against the kitchen island, the wet towel pressed to her lips. Her eyes burned, not from smoke yet, but from something deeper. Vale Meridian had built its reputation on safe living technology. Her name was on the brand. Her face had been on the launch video. She had stood in a room full of investors and promised that smart homes would protect people who lived alone. And now she was alone, protected by nothing but a stranger's voice. "I signed off on this building," she whispered. Declan heard the break in her tone. "You signed off on the idea," he said. "Someone else damaged the execution. You don't know that." "I know guilt when I hear it." Maris closed her eyes. "What else do you know?" Declan stripped the wire carefully, his hands steady despite the heat. "I know you're trying not to cough, because you don't want anyone to hear you weak." She opened her eyes. "And I know that's a lonely way to live." The words landed harder than he meant them to. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Maris said, very softly, You sound like you've lived that way too. Declan's hand paused on the wire. He thought of hospital chairs, unpaid bills, Poppy sleeping with his old hoodie because it still smelled like him after double shifts. He thought of all the times he had said, "I'm fine," because nobody had time for the real answer. "Yeah," he said. "A little." The corridor fell into a tense quiet. Then the relay sparked bright blue. Maris coughed once. Declan didn't wait anymore. He grabbed his insulated cutter and looked at Nolan. "I'm killing power to the penthouse." Nolan stepped back. "That could lock everything permanently." "It's already locked." Declan looked up toward the vent. "Maris, when the lights go out, don't move. Just listen to me." Her voice came through softer now. "I trust you." Those 3 words hit him in a place he had kept closed for years. He cut the wire. The whole floor dropped into darkness. For 2 seconds, there was only silence. Then, from inside the penthouse, Maris whispered his name. And this time, her voice was much closer to the door. The darkness changed everything. The penthouse, the corridor, the polished marble, the cameras hidden in the ceiling, all of it disappeared into one heavy black silence. Declan kept one hand on the dead panel and the other on the emergency latch. "Maris," he said, steady but firm. "Touch the door. Don't pull yet. I'm here." Her voice was closer now. Too close. He could hear the wet towel against her mouth. He could hear her try not to cough again. "Good," he said. "There's a manual release behind the lower panel on your side. Kneel down. Feel for a small square cover near the floor." "I can't see it." "You don't need to see it. Use your fingers." In the dark, Maris pressed her hand along the cold surface of the door. Her nails scraped metal. Her breath trembled once, then steadied. Declan noticed. Even scared, she was listening. "I found it," she said. "Open it." "It's stuck. Use something flat." "There's nothing here." Declan looked down at his belt, then at the narrow seam beneath the door. "My pocket knife can fit under," he said. "Move your hand back." Nolan shifted behind him. "You can't pass tools into a locked residence during an emergency." Declan didn't even look at him. "She's not evidence, Nolan. She's a person." The guard behind Nolan lowered his eyes. Declan slid the small folding knife under the door. A second later, Maris's fingers touched it. It was strange how small that contact felt. Just fingertips brushing metal through a thin gap. But for both of them, it felt like proof that neither one was alone. "I have it," she whispered. "Pry the cover gently. Don't force it." Maris worked carefully. The cover popped loose and hit the floor inside. "There's a red lever. Pull it halfway. Not all the way." "Why halfway?" "Because if the lock motor is seized, all the way could jam it." She breathed in. "Halfway." The door made a low mechanical groan. Declan gripped the outside handle. "Now hold it there. It's heavy." "I know." 3 seconds. He braced his shoulder against the door, found the exact pressure point, and pulled with controlled force. Not panic, not muscle. Timing. The lock clicked. A thin line of smoke rolled out from the edge. Then the penthouse door opened. Maris was on the other side, kneeling in the dark, one hand still on the lever, the wet towel in the other. Her hair had slipped from its neat shape. Her eyes were red. Her face was pale. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Declan stepped back, giving her space instead of rushing toward her. "You're okay," he said. Maris looked at him like she had been holding herself together only until someone finally said that. FDNY arrived minutes later. They cleared the wall, shut down the damaged circuit, and confirmed what Declan had already known. The bypass could have caused a serious incident. Not immediately deadly, but dangerous enough that every unit on the top floor had to be inspected. Maris stood wrapped in a gray emergency blanket near the elevator, watching Declan give calm details to the fire captain. He didn't make himself important. He didn't exaggerate. He didn't once say, "I told you so." That stayed with her. Nolan tried to explain himself beside the security desk downstairs. "There was pressure before the investor event," he said. "The lock delays looked bad. The vendor said the shortcut was harmless." Maris looked at him for a long second. Her voice was quiet, but the whole lobby seemed to feel it. "You chose appearance over safety." Nolan's face lowered. "I am sorry." "I believe you're sorry now," she said. "But sorry doesn't repair trust." She didn't humiliate him. She didn't destroy him in front of everyone. She placed him on leave, ordered a third-party audit, and called every resident affected before sunrise. For the first time in years, she didn't hide behind a statement written by legal. She took responsibility herself. Declan expected that to be the end of it. But 3 days later, Maris came to the basement maintenance office. No assistant, no cameras, no black car waiting outside. Just Maris, holding 2 coffees and a small paper bag. Declan looked up from a pipe diagram. "You're lost," he said. A smile touched her face. "Maybe." He stood, suddenly aware of the oil mark on his sleeve. You didn't have to come down here." "I did," she said. "I've spent years building systems that promised to listen. That night, the only person who actually listened was you." Declan didn't know what to do with praise. He looked away. "I was doing my job." "No," Maris said gently. "You were doing what everyone else should have done." She placed the coffee on his desk. "And I wanted to meet Poppy, if that's not strange." Declan blinked. "She's very protective." "So am I," Maris said. That made him smile. The romance didn't arrive like lightning. It came slowly, through honest conversations in quiet places. A walk after the audit meeting. A coffee after Poppy's school play. A dinner where Maris admitted she didn't know how to stop working, and Declan admitted he didn't know how to start living again. No one rescued anyone completely, but they made room for each other. Months later, the Penthouse system was rebuilt from the ground up. Maris changed the company policy too. Every safety complaint had to be reviewed by a human, not just software. Every technician had the right to stop a launch if something felt wrong. And Declan? He became the director of residential safety operations. Not because Maris liked him, but because he had earned it before she ever knew his name. On a quiet Sunday evening, Maris stood on the balcony of the same penthouse that had once trapped her. The city glowed below. Poppy sat at the outdoor table, drawing a crooked moon in purple crayon. Declan leaned beside Maris, warm coffee in his hand. "You still scared of this place?" he asked. Maris looked through the glass door, then at him. "Not anymore." "Why?" She smiled softly. "Because now if I call for help, I know someone will hear me." Declan didn't answer right away. He just reached for her hand. And this time, high above the city, the silence felt safe.